Evan walked through the alien night market with quiet steps. He did not talk to anyone. He did not smile. He only wanted one thing: engine parts for his ship, nothing more. He did not like crowds. He did not like noise. And this market was full of strange sounds, strange smells, and strange eyes watching him. Blue lamps hung above the narrow path. Smoke curled through the air. Alien traders whispered in low voices. Some stared at him because he was the only human in the market tonight. Evan kept his head down and moved fast. He wanted to leave as soon as possible, but then something small pulled his coat. At first, he thought it was a mistake. When he turned, he froze. A little alien girl stood there. Her skin was light blue, her hair soft white, and her eyes huge with fear. She held a small baby in her arms, wrapped in a torn blanket. The baby was shaking from cold. The girl looked up at him and whispered in a weak voice, "Human, can you buy us?" Evan blinked. Buy us? He thought he misheard her. But the girl tugged his coat again and stepped closer. Before he could speak, a shadow moved behind her. An alien woman came out from the dark corner. She was tall but weak, her arms thin, her clothes torn. Her eyes were tired, and she looked like she had not slept for days. A metal tag hung around her neck like a chain. She lowered her head and said, "Please." She does not know how to ask. "We are for sale. They will take my children if you do not buy us." Evan felt a cold shock run through his body. Slavery. In this part of the galaxy, it was still legal. But he had never seen it up close. The woman's voice trembled. "My baby is sick. If they take her, she will not live." The baby whimpered. Softly, the little girl hugged her tighter. Evan looked around. And that was when he noticed them. 3 large alien slavers stood between the market stalls, watching him with cold eyes. Their arms glowing with electric rods. Their skin dark and rough. Their steps slow and heavy. They looked like they owned everything they touched, including this family. One of them shouted, "Human, step away, they belong to us." The little girl panicked and hid behind Evan's leg. Evan lifted his hand slowly, trying not to anger the slavers. He did not want trouble. He never wanted trouble. But the fear in the girl's eyes. It felt wrong to turn away. The woman whispered, "Please. I cannot lose my children. Buy us, save them." More slavers walked closer. People in the market moved aside, pretending not to see anything. No one wanted to help. No one wanted to fight slavers. Evan's heart beat faster. He was only one human. They were many. He had no weapons. He had no plan. He had no reason to help these strangers. But the girl held his coat again. Her small hand shook. Her voice was barely air. "Please. Human, we do not want to die." The slavers lifted their rods. The baby started crying. Cold wind blew through the market. The woman closed her eyes, expecting pain. Evan took one slow breath. He had 2 choices. Walk away or save them. His hand moved on its own. He stepped in front of the girl and the baby, blocking the slavers. A burst of anger flashed in their eyes. The largest slaver growled, "So, the human wants to die today?" The girl pulled his coat again and whispered, with hope and fear mixed, "Please don't leave us." The whole market went silent. Everyone watched. Everyone waited. And in that moment, Evan realized tonight, he would not walk away. The slavers moved closer, their heavy boots thumping on the dusty market ground. Evan felt the vibration in his chest. The little alien girl clung to his coat, and the baby's soft cries filled the cold air. The alien woman, Lyra, kept her eyes down, but her whole body shook. Evan did not know what he was doing. He only knew one thing. He could not walk away. The largest slaver stepped forward. His skin was dark red, his tusks sharp, and his armor scratched from old battles. He pointed his electric rod at Evan's chest. Human, he growled. You have 3 seconds to move. Evan swallowed hard. He had no weapon. He had no backup. He had no reason to fight a powerful slaver gang. But he also knew that if he stepped aside, the woman and her children would be dragged away like animals. And the baby who looked too weak to even breathe properly might not survive another hour. The little girl whispered, "Please, save us." Evan's heart squeezed. He raised his voice, trying to stay calm. "How much?" The slavers paused. For 1 second, then they laughed. Loud, cruel, echoing through the whole market. The leader grinned with sharp teeth. "Humans never buy slaves here. You cannot afford them." Evan kept his face steady. "Tell me the price." The slaver stepped closer until Evan could smell his breath. 10,000 credits. Evan almost choked. That was more than his ship, more than he had ever seen. It was a price meant to scare him away. The woman whispered softly behind him, "Please ignore him. They only want to take us. They want to punish me." Evan turned slightly. "Punish you? Why?" But before she could answer, the slaver smacked his rod against the ground, sparks flying. "Enough!" he shouted. "Move, human." The crowd stepped even farther back. Some aliens covered their children's eyes. Evan's mind raced. He had only a little money. He had one small bag of tools. He had nothing of real value except his ship. His only home, his only belonging, his only life. Evan took a slow breath and said the words that shocked even himself. "I will trade my ship." The entire market went silent. The slaver leader blinked. "Your ship?" Evan nodded. "You get my ship. And I get them." The slavers looked at each other. A human ship was worth far more than 3 aliens. It was a stupid deal. A crazy deal. Only a desperate man would offer something like that. The leader's cruel smile widened. "Show me your ship." Evan hesitated. If they saw his ship, they might attack him, steal it, kill him. But he had no time to think. He walked toward the landing bay. The girl held his hand tightly. Lyra followed, carrying the baby close to her chest. The slavers walked behind them with slow, confident steps. When they reached the edge of the bay, Evan pointed at his small metal ship. It was old, scratched, but strong. His only safe place in this galaxy. The slaver leader looked at it with greedy eyes. Good engine. Strong." He touched the side. "Yes, we accept," Lyra gasped. The little girl whispered, "Human. You will have nothing." Evan forced a small smile. "Better I lose a ship than you lose your lives." But before he could breathe in relief, a sudden alarm echoed across the bay. A deep voice shouted from the shadows, "Wait! The human is lying." More slavers appeared, armed, angry, ready to take everyone. Lyra stepped closer to Evan, panic in her eyes. "They never wanted your ship, they only wanted us." And now Evan knew. He was trapped with them, no escape. No deal. No safety. Only danger. The alarm echoed through the landing bay like a broken siren. Evan felt the sound in his bones. The little alien girl pressed against his leg, holding the baby close. Lyra stood frozen, her eyes wide with fear as more slavers rushed out from the dark corners of the bay. The slaver leader growled, "You think you can trick us, human? We knew you would come here. We knew you would fight for them." Evan stepped back slowly. He was outnumbered. He was unarmed. And he had the mother, the little girl, and a sick baby behind him. One of the slavers raised his electric rod toward Lyra. She shielded her children with her body. Evan's voice came out firmer than he expected. "Stay behind me," Lyra whispered. "You cannot protect us from all of them." Evan did not answer. He could not. He just kept walking backward toward his ship, pushing them along with him. The slavers formed a half circle, blocking the exit. The leader smirked. "Kill the human. Take the woman and the kids back to the cages." The little girl gasped and grabbed Evan's coat. The slavers stepped forward. Evan's heart thumped so loudly he could barely hear. He grabbed the girl's hand, grabbed Lyra's arm, and ran toward the ship as fast as his legs could move. "Run!" he shouted. Lyra clutched the baby and sprinted behind him, her steps uneven and weak. The baby cried louder. The slavers roared, "Stop them!" Evan slammed his hand on the ship's door panel. The gate hissed open. He pushed Lyra inside first, then the girl, then jumped in after them. He hit the close button and the door slid shut just as electric rods smashed against it. "They're on the hull!" Lyra cried out. Evan jumped into the pilot's seat. His hands shook. His breath came fast. He had no time to think. He started the engine. The ship hummed, but something felt wrong. The system flashed red text on the screen. "Warning. External device attached. Tracker connected." Evan swore under his breath. They had planted a tracker earlier. They knew exactly where he was from the start. Slavers pounded on the hull. Some tried to cut through the ship's metal with hot plasma. The little girl cried out, "They're coming inside." Evan shouted, "Hold on!" He pulled the throttle. The engine roared. The ship lifted. Dust and metal debris swirled under the thrusters. Slavers fell back from the shockwave. Others grabbed onto the landing gear, trying to climb. Evan shook the ship left, then right. 2 slavers lost their grip and fell. Lyra held the baby tight, whispering soft words in her alien language to calm her. The ship shot upward, punching through the upper bay doors. Sparks rained around them. Evan pushed harder. The ship broke free into the dark sky, rising fast above the market lights. But the slavers were not finished. Their own ship, a massive dark vessel, powered up behind them. Lights flashed. Engines burned bright. Sirens wailed. Lyra stared at the radar screen. "They are following us." Evan nodded. "I know." He flew into open space, but the tracker kept blinking. It was a bright red dot attached to his hull. He could not escape unless he removed it. The little girl asked in a shaking voice, "Are we safe?" Evan looked at the chasing ship behind them. It was big, fast, angry. He whispered, "Not yet." Lyra looked at him with fear and hope mixed. "What will you do?" Evan tightened his grip on the controls. "Whatever it takes." He aimed the ship toward deep space, toward darkness, toward danger, because going back meant death, and going forward meant a chance, a small chance, but enough. Asterisk flew into deep space, leaving the bright market world far behind. But the danger did not fade. The slaver ship stayed close behind them, its engines glowing like angry eyes in the dark. Evan pushed his small ship as fast as it could go, but the tracker on the hull kept sending their exact location. Inside the cabin, the air felt tight. The baby's soft cries echoed in the metal walls. The little girl held her sibling close, rocking gently. Lyra sat on the floor, her arms wrapped around her children, her face pale from fear and exhaustion. Evan glanced back at them. He had rescued them, but he had no idea what to do next. "We need to talk," he said quietly. Lyra looked up slowly. Her eyes were sad but strong. "About what?" "About why they want you so badly," Evan said. "Slavers don't chase a mother and 2 kids across space unless there is something important." Lyra looked down, avoiding his eyes. She didn't speak. Evan sighed. "Lyra, I cannot help you if I don't understand the truth." The ship shook slightly as they passed through a region of scattered asteroids. The slaver ship stayed behind them like a shadow. Lyra finally whispered, "If I tell you, you may regret helping us." The little girl looked up at her mother with wide eyes, confused and scared. Evan turned the ship to avoid a large rock drifting in space. "I already made my choice," he said softly. "I'm not leaving you." Lyra took a slow breath and held the baby closer. My people were hunted for many years, she began. Not because we are strong. Not because we are dangerous, but because our blood can power ancient machines. Evan froze. Power? Machines? Lyra nodded. Way. Long time ago, a dead empire built devices that respond only to my kind. Our blood, our energy, it activates them. Slavers think they can sell us for millions. The little girl whispered, they want Mama because she is the last adult left. Evan felt something heavy in his chest. No wonder the slavers were obsessed. No wonder they refused to give up. Lyra continued. Most of my people are gone. Only children remain, too young to use their power. I ran with my daughters, but they found us. I broke their rules. I escaped. Evan's hands tightened on the controls. So they want your blood to control old weapons? Lyra shook her head. Not weapons, something worse. Something no one should ever wake. The baby whimpered in her arms. Lyra kissed her forehead gently. Evan looked back at the blinking red tracker light. Then we need to get that thing off my ship, he said. The little girl whispered. How? Evan bit his lip. Outside the window, the slaver ship gained speed. Need someone skinny to crawl under the cargo panel and reach the hull plate from inside. Both children looked at each other. The girl raised her hand shyly. I can do it. Lyra's eyes widened. No, it is dangerous. There are wires, heat pipes. She could get hurt. Evan knelt down beside them. I will guide her. I promise. I won't let anything happen. Lyra looked at him long and hard. Her face showed fear, but also trust. At last, she nodded. The girl crawled into the narrow maintenance tunnel. The space was small and dark, only lit by dim blue lights. Evan stayed by the opening, talking softly. Move forward. Good. Now left. Careful. The pipe is hot. Behind them, Lyra hugged the baby tightly, whispering soft words. Suddenly the girl called out, I see it. The tracker! Evan's heart jumped. Can you reach it? The ship shook violently. The slaver vessel fired a warning shot. Hurry! Evan shouted. The girl grunted, pulled, twisted, then finally cried out, I got it! The tracker dropped into her hand, blinking red. Evan ripped it open and smashed it into the floor on the radar screen. The slaver ship suddenly slowed. They had lost the signal. Lyra stared, her voice barely a whisper. We have a chance now. Evan took the pilot seat again and pushed the engines forward. And for the first time, hope filled the small ship. For a few quiet minutes, Evan thought they were safe. The slaver ship had slowed down after losing the tracker signal. The stars around them looked calm. Even the baby in Lyra's arms stopped crying and fell into a soft sleep. But calm in space never lasted long. Evan checked the radar again. A cold fear touched his heart. A second ship had appeared. Bigger, faster, stronger, and it was heading straight toward them. Lyra saw the color drain from his face. What is it? Evan pointed at the glowing red dot on the screen. Another ship, larger than the last one. It found us. Lyra's breathing stopped for a moment. Her voice cracked. That is not a slaver ship. That is a hunter vessel. Evan turned sharply. Hunter? What does that mean? Lyra held her children close. Hunters do not sell us. They do not cage us. They only bring us to the heart of the empire, to activate the old machines. Once they take us, we never return. The little girl whispered, Mama said hunters never lose. Evan gripped the ship controls tighter. The hunter ship flashed its front lights, two bright beams like eyes staring straight into their souls. Robotic voice filled the radio, cold and sharp. Unregistered human vessel. You are carrying stolen biological assets. Power down your engines. Surrender now. Evan whispered. Not a chance. He pushed the throttle. The ship shot forward, engines screaming under pressure. But the hunter vessel stayed behind them. Like a shadow glued to their ship, the radio spoke again. Your escape path is calculated. Resistance is unnecessary. Evan ignored it and flew toward an asteroid field, sharp rocks, floating debris, dust clouds hiding danger. A place no normal ship would enter. The little girl clung to Lyra. Are we going to crash? Evan forced a shaky smile. Not if you trust me. He dived into the asteroid field. Huge rocks spun around the ship. Some passed so close that they scraped the metal. Inside the cabin, everything rattled. The baby woke up and began crying loudly. Again, Lyra covered the baby's ears and whispered calming words. Behind them, the hunter ship fired a blast. A blue beam shot through the asteroid field, melting 3 rocks into dust. Evan ducked the ship downward. Another blast followed. Dust clouds exploded around them. The hunter ship never missed. Evan muttered under his breath. If they hit the wrong rock, it will crush us. A loud alarm beeped. The ship's fuel level dropped fast. The engine was overheating. Lyra looked at the blinking warning and trembled. We cannot outrun them. Evan didn't answer. He was thinking hard. Fast. Then he saw it. A massive asteroid with a glowing crack running through it. A heat vent. A natural tunnel. Evan pointed. Hold on, we're going inside that. Lyra's eyes widened. Evan, no. That is a volcanic asteroid. You will burn the ship. But Evan was already turning toward it. The hunter ship fired again. A beam grazed their tail, shaking the ship violently. The little girl cried out, We're going to die. Evan gritted his teeth. Not today. He forced the ship straight into the glowing crack. Heat washed over the hull. Red rocks fell beside them. Steam shot upward like fire. Inside the crack, the space was narrow. Barely enough for their ship. Behind them, the hunter ship hesitated. It could not fit inside. It waited outside the asteroid instead. Lyra looked at Evan with shaking breath. We are trapped. Evan stared at the glowing walls around them. No, not trapped, hiding. He turned off all lights, all power, all noise. The ship went dark, like a sleeping animal. The children huddled close. Lyra whispered, Will they leave? Evan listened to the silence outside. To the hunter's ship waiting, watching, he whispered back, We'll find out. Asterisk, inside the volcanic asteroid. Evan's ship floated in complete darkness. Every system was shut down. No lights. No sounds. No heat except the soft warmth of the glowing red walls outside the hull. The tiny cabin felt like a metal cave in the middle of a sleeping monster. Lyra held her baby close to her chest. The little girl sat beside her mother, shaking slightly. Evan stayed in the pilot seat, watching the radar screen even though it was nearly dark. A faint red dot blinked outside the asteroid. The hunter ship was waiting. Lyra whispered, They know we are here. They are patient. They can wait hours, even days. Evan lowered his voice. Then we'll wait longer. But he knew the truth. His ship could not stay powered down forever. The air recyclers needed energy. The engine needed cooling. And the baby needed warmth. After a few minutes, the baby started crying softly. Lyra rocked her gently, but the sound grew sharper, more desperate. Evan turned. Is she hungry? Lyra shook her head, tears forming. No. She is overheating inside. My kind when afraid. Our power becomes unstable. Evan frowned. Power? You mean what you told me earlier? Lyra nodded and whispered, The younger ones cannot control it. If her fear grows, her energy will burst out. And this ship is too small to survive it. The little girl grabbed her mother's arm. Mama, she is glowing. Evan looked closer. A faint silver light shimmered under the baby's skin, soft at first, like moonlight. Then brighter and brighter. Lyra gasped. No, not here. Please, not here. The light spread up the baby's tiny arms. Her crying turned into shaking. The air around her began to vibrate. Evan felt his stomach twist. "Lyra, what is happening?" Lyra's voice cracked. "A power surge. If it grows stronger, she will release energy that bends gravity. Even adults cannot control it. If she explodes inside this asteroid." She couldn't finish the sentence. The little girl backed away, scared. The baby wailed louder, and the silver light flickered like a storm trapped inside her tiny body. The ship shook slightly, not from engines or outside attacks, but from the baby's rising power. Evan stood quickly. "What do we do? Tell me." Lyra looked helpless. "She listens to feelings, not words. She needs someone calm, someone strong, someone she trusts." Evan pointed at Lyra. "Then you..." She shook her head in panic. "No, I am too frightened. My fear will make her worse." Evan stared at the glowing child. He barely knew her. Barely knew her family. He didn't even know why he cared so much. But something inside him refused to stand still. He knelt in front of Lyra and held out his arms. "Give her to me." Lyra stared at him, stunned. "Evan, a human cannot." But there was no time. He gently took the baby. The instant she touched his chest, a wave of sharp heat spread through his skin. The light grew brighter. The ship walls rattled. Loose tools rolled across the floor. Evan held her tighter. Hey, it's okay. You're safe. I'm not letting anything hurt you." His voice was soft, steady, warm. The baby's shaking slowed for 1 second, then surged again, brighter, louder. The temperature in the cabin rose. Evan closed his eyes and whispered, "You're not alone. I'm here. Breathe with me." He breathed slowly, deep, calm. The baby's light flickered, paused, softened. Lyra covered her mouth, eyes full of tears. Evan kept whispering, "That's it. Good. Stay with me. You're safe." The cabin stopped shaking. The light faded from bright silver to soft white. The baby's breathing slowed. Then she pressed her small face against Evan's chest and finally stopped crying. Silence filled the ship. Lyra whispered, "You saved her life." Evan held the small child gently. "We're a team now, all of us." But outside the asteroid, the hunter vessel moved again. They hadn't left. They were waiting. And now, the baby was safe, but the danger was not. The glowing crack inside the volcanic asteroid dimmed slowly as the baby relaxed in Evan's arms. Her tiny fingers curled into his shirt. Her breathing softened, warm, and light. Lyra watched him in complete silence, tears stuck on her eyelashes. The little girl sat close to her mother, eyes wide with relief and awe. For the first time since the chase began, the cabin felt calm, warm, almost peaceful. But the radar screen told a different story. The hunter ship was still there, waiting, just outside the asteroid, like a hungry predator. Evan carefully handed the baby back to Lyra. "She's okay now," he whispered. Lyra held her child gently and nodded. "You calmed her. No one has ever done that." The little girl crawled closer to Evan. Her small voice shook. "Human, they will come again, right?" Evan sighed. "Yes, they're not giving up. Not until they take your mother." Lyra lowered her head. "They want to use me to wake the old machines. They will not stop." Evan looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the pilot's seat. "Then we don't wait for them," he said. "We make the first move." Lyra blinked. "You want to fight a hunter ship?" Evan turned on a small power cell, just enough to light the control panel. The ship hummed quietly. "No," he replied. "I'm going to outsmart them." Dangerous plan. Evan explained his idea. The hunter ship expected them to escape straight into space. But the asteroid had another exit, a narrow lava tunnel opening on the opposite side. If they could reach it quietly, they could burst out in the opposite direction. and jump into hyperspace before the hunter ship could turn. Lyra stared at the sharp rocks and glowing cracks around them. That tunnel will be too tight. Evan smiled a little. Only if the pilot is bad, the little girl giggled nervously. Lyra couldn't help a small smile too. Evan powered up the engines at the lowest setting, barely a whisper of energy. He pushed the ship forward slowly, careful not to touch the hot walls. The baby watched with sleepy eyes. The asteroid trembled with occasional heat bursts. Lyra whispered, "Be careful." Evan nodded. "Trust me." They reached the narrow tunnel. Its walls glowed bright orange, shaking from heat. The space was so tight that the ship barely fit. The little girl covered her ears. "It's scary." Evan smiled at her through the mirror. "Close your eyes and count to 10. When you open them, we'll be safe." She nodded and held her baby sister close. Evan pushed the throttle. The ship slid through the lava tunnel like a silver arrow shooting into fire. Heat alarms beeped. Red smoke rose. The metal creaked. Lyra closed her eyes. "Please." Then, light burst around them. They shot out of the asteroid's far side like a spark thrown into space. Evan powered the engines to maximum. The ship roared forward. Behind them, the hunter vessel took precious seconds to turn around. Seconds Evan needed. "Hold tight," he shouted. He slammed the hyperspace lever. Stars stretched into bright lines, and the ship vanished into the deep blue tunnel of hyperspace. The hunter ship disappeared behind them. They were free. A new beginning. When the ship finally slowed into calm space, everything was quiet again. The stars were soft. The engines hummed gently. Lyra touched Evan's shoulder. "You saved us again." The little girl sat beside him and whispered, "Human, can we stay with you now?" Evan looked at her small, hopeful face, at the baby sleeping safely. At Lyra, who watched him with grateful eyes, full of fear but also trust. He took a slow breath. For years, he had been alone. No family, no home, only empty space and old memories. But now, he smiled softly and said, "You're not for sale anymore. You're with me." The little girl gasped. The baby reached for him in her sleep. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure?" she whispered. Evan nodded. "We're a family now." And as the stars drifted by outside the windows, the ship, once empty and lonely, felt full for the first time, full of warmth, full of hope, full of life. A new journey had just begun.